It is another episode of the Noize Report. I'm the music guy CJ Plain, and as you see above me, we have a gentleman. You know what we do here? We laugh, we have fun, we talk about tons of random stuff, mostly music, but it could be a little bit of everything. And this particular day, we're going to talk to someone, if the kid upstairs would stop banging around. We have a gentleman here. He has a very awesome band called Attack of the Rising. They were sent over courtesy of Mr. Tedder, and Dave is always sending us amazing stuff. This is Tony from the band, and he's going to introduce himself, and we're going to talk about the new record and a whole bunch of other amazing stuff. So how are you today?
I'm doing all right, man. Yeah, thanks for having me here. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Love the record. Very old school sounding, but with the modern kick to it, and good to see bands still carrying on the old school metal style.
Right on. Yeah, it was. It's just it's stuff that we like to play. Well, I'll get into that later. But yeah, thank you.
So to introduce the band, who else is in the band? Who does what?
My brother Chris is the drummer, and Mandrake is the singer. Mr. Rizzucci, Mike Rizzucci, is the bass player, and Billy Sablon is the other guitarist.
Awesome. The name of the record is called Game Changer.
And there's a story to that.
Please tell us the story.
Well, I mean, a part of the deal for us, it has nothing to do with in the picture of the world. Like, we don't think this is a game changer album like Van Halen 1 or Jeff Beck Truth album or any of that kind of stuff, right? Nothing like that. What it is for us is that when Mandrake said yes and joined the band, that was a game changer for us, for me and Chris. That changed the game. We could take this thing anywhere we want to go. And it got solidified in the context when Mike joined and Billy joined. It was like, okay, we can play anything we want, any style, any level of playing. There's no limitations to what we can do. And so most of the album was written prior to everybody joining it. It's stuff that we had in the works prior. And with them coming on board, especially Mandrake with his vocals, he brought what we always heard to it. And Mike and Billy put their spin on different things. Definitely Eyes Closed is a song we all wrote together. They had a big hand on Voodoo and some arrangements in Opus X. And just their abilities and how they performed, on the record and especially live, made everything that we put out in that record and how we play them, game-changing for us. So for me and Chris, that's the premise of what the album's about. It was a game-changing experience for us to have these kind of cats to do this thing with.
Yeah, this record. I mean, I grew up listening to tons of different music. The early stuff like Boston and Bob Seger, Bad Company, that kind of stuff. Up through the 80s, living out in California near the Sunset Strip and hearing all of those bands.
Right.
Getting into the hardcore punk and going through that stuff. And then, through the 90s, you had grunge and all the noise of that era. And this record, really, to me, is that classic style that I hate the term new wave of heavy metal because it kind of, to me, it makes it sound like there was something that came before it. And really, it was just the bands that really kind of made metal what metal was. The bands like Maiden and Savage, Creature, and Wrathchild, and, all of the bands that just did this classic sound. And this really exemplifies that sound. It has the tones of King Diamond in it. It has the Maiden vibes. It has the Motorhead vibes in there in some places. It really has this really classic sound of, this thing could have easily been a record that came out in 86 or 89 or even 93, and it would have fit perfectly in that time frame, but it still has modern feel to it. The song Taker, to me, I love the song Taker because it's just that guitar riff at the beginning is just so killer.
It's meant to be that kind of a just starts off smashing you in the face.
Yeah, it does. It just
and not in the traditional like speed thrash or any of that. But it's pure blistering rock, but on a heavier side.
Exactly. It's just a classic riff. Like there's certain riffs you hear them, and it's not that the songs are great or whatever, but it's that riff that really Mississippi Queen by Mountain,
Right.
Rocky Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions. Those are songs that are made great by the riff that is in that song. And this is one of those songs. That riff at the beginning just has such a classic tone and feel to it. I could listen to it over and over and never get bored with it. So,
well, that's good to hear. Definitely, yeah. Because who wouldn't want to hear that? I mean, there's definitely songs that I listen to that I never get tired of listening to.
Yeah.
So, and I've listened to them all my life. So, yeah.
Opus X was another one that I really loved. I love the
very
the
cool
whole vibe of that song. That it just really has this vibe to it. Like it's almost prog rock without being prog.
Right. It's that song. It was kind of inspired by a lot of stoner stuff, but also an alternative take on, something like the chorus was always this weird, and this is just me as a songwriter, a George Martin inspired type of thing. Right. Okay. I heard, strings and all kinds of weird shit, which, may or may not happen in the future. Who knows? But the point was, it was like, there's this heavy riff that's the main thing of like the embodiment of the verse and all that. And that little bridge piece was like sitar-ish or Eastern freak show. And then just some weird descending chord pattern or notes. And, it was meant to be kind of a modern alternative, but heavy song. I don't know. I mean, they have all these words for God knows everything. And I don't know. I just know that my brother and I always dug the riff in the song, and we had played it in a previous band, and we were looking at songs to do the album, and we had a lot of songs on the table, and we asked these guys, which ones do you want to do? Because this is not like, the Tony Show or any kind of dictatorship for me. My brother was like, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to write a whole new thing, or do you dig what we're doing, or blah, blah, blah? And obviously the demos and stuff we had before they liked. So, but this was one song that everybody dug, and Mandrick especially, and he brought this thing to it that was really cool. And he took the previous melody and approach, but did it his way. Mm-hmm. And getting that chorus involved in the words, there's a story there. And it was the music. You always want the music to be accenting the story or somehow intertwined so that it's something that gets in you, So I'm glad that's one of your songs, because I'll never get tired of playing it or hearing it just because it's fun. I like the song.
Yeah, and that's what I said. Like, this record is so well put together. The song arrangement, which I think is something that so many bands don't pay enough attention to. Just the way you order the songs and the structure of them, the way it will change the way the record flows, and it can make a very good record bad or a very bad record good.
And well, that was part of the thing in that, my brother and I had this thing about side one and side two, because, we grew up on vinyl, right?
Yes.
And so, and someday this will be on vinyl, that's who knows when, but with everything that went on, it was supposed to have already happened, but, shit happens with everything that went on. So, but we looked at it as side one and side two. And so the approach of the song order was the first five are side one, second five are side two of a vinyl EP or LP. Mm-hmm. So that's where that flow came in. It works that way, we're grateful. I mean, that's something that really didn't take too much compared to some of the things we've done in the past where like, there's like band fights almost over song orders. It's funny.
Right.
So that shit happens. I'm sure it's tons of people have that experience. But for this, it was like, the flow. And it's the same thing we play live. We don't necessarily play them in that order at all. But the same thing with the live flow, depending on how much time we have, we play them all, whatever. It's always about this flow. Mm-hmm. Because we all grew up listening to entire albums.
Right.
Not just a song downloaded from someplace. It was, and even into this day, I like listening to the entirety of what it is because there's a point there, there's a purpose, there's a thing going on. You hope, and the arrangements were like, that's a lot of it was me and my brother just hammering out these ideas. A classic one was "Island of Seven Skulls." That's a song we wrote for Bill Metoyer because he was on board to do the album before we got the finalized thing. And we know Bill's an old school thrash head. So, OCD land with riffs and licks and pieces and parts and just, throwing them and playing them. And we're just, jamming them out. Okay, let's try this, and when those guys were involved in the process of like finalizing that shit, they brought it up to this level. So it was like, okay, here we are. And the cool thing about that, when Clever and I were writing the lyrics and shit, I told him, I said, I do not expect you to write another second epic verse. You listen to a lot of classic epic songs that are, multiple parts of vocal lines over, verses A, B, chorus A, versus A, B, chorus B, they have this crazy amount of shit going on. A lot of times they're just repeating the thing over this. The same scene happens, scene one, like in a play. They don't redo the same act over again in the play. But the point is, I said, I'm not expecting you. I don't even know if we need to write a whole second epic long story. You can repeat the story and it works. And I still think it does. I mean, there's others out there who might not think so, but everybody's happy with it. So it's cool in that context.
Yeah. Like, vinyl is such an amazing thing. Like, I love that it's kind of coming back in fashion. And, all of my favorite records growing up, I loved my dad had vinyl. And he would get so angry with me because there were certain records that I will admit he had to replace multiple times because I played them so much that I would just literally wear the grooves out of it. The first Boston record, I can't tell you how many times he replaced that Boston record because I would play that thing till you could see through it. But, bands like Slade and bands like Angel was a band that I was a huge fan of. And, early Ted Nugent stuff. White Buffalo. I would play White Buffalo.
The live version of that song, White Buffalo, is one of the most insane things. Yeah. It's in my top of my list of shit. That song specifically, just because it's fucking crazy. It's out there.
Yeah, and that's what people, when I tell people that what you just said, they always immediately go to the political side. Oh, Nugent, blah blah blah. I'm not talking politics. I'm talking just for the pure musical aspect of that song. Strip away the politics of it, and just listen to it for what it is. It's like you said, it's one of the most outstanding guitar pieces I think anyone's ever written. And again, I've listened to it so many times. Highway Song by Blackfoot is a song.
Yeah, oh yeah.
To me is still, it's a song that bands don't cover nearly enough. Like,
not everybody should either.
Well, there is that. I
mean, his Boys Are Cult, Cities on Fire, Flame, whatever. That thing is one of the most epic, early metal prog something. I don't know what they call it, proto metal. I don't know. I do those searches, just to get tweaked out on some shit. But that's one of those songs it's fucking huge to me in my influences because there's it's killer riffage, and then they go into this crazy stuff that goes on, and it's like, you know,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
There's so many songs that really just never got the credit that they deserved. And it's frustrating to me as a music fan and as a host and different things to hear bands get famous for music that really is filler at best, and I'm being kind with that term.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But truthfully, it's just garbage. And
Well, art is always relative, right?
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I understand that there are people out there who are not really into what we do because we're not doing whatever that is that they're into.
right.
Right. It's just like some people like color purple and other people like green, and some people like broccoli and some people hate broccoli, whatever, so
I love broccoli. I can't stand Brussels sprouts.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, if somebody gets off on what we're doing, great. If they don't, that's cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I've heard in my life that works for me, and there's a lot of shit that doesn't. So whatever,
Yeah. And that's why I said I'm so glad that there are bands like you that are out here that still do it in forever what it's worth, in the aspect of I'm glad that it hasn't just kind of died off and been replaced by some other musical form or whatever. I don't know of a ton of bands that are doing it, but hey, you take what you could get, and you're kind of thankful for it. So, who are some of your guys' like influences as far as that?
Well, I mean, what's cool
kind
about
of old and new, I guess, in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about this is like, we heard Mandrake sing many times before he joined the band, and you could tell where he gets his influences, Ian Gillan and and the Maiden Priest thing and all that kind of stuff. So okay, cool, and we love that shit. So but Mike's old school, metalhead and old school hardcore punk guy, and Billy's just like a total Metallica freak. So, as well as a bunch of other stuff. I mean, the guy likes yacht rock, which we thought was fucking hilarious, but he does. He.
Nice.
Right. I mean, I listen to jazz. That's what I don't really listen to much. I mean, when I listen to music for inspiration or learning process, that's one thing. But I listen to jazz. My brother and I grew up listening to it. Our parents were down with all their albums and shit. A big influences on my brother and I are obviously we grew up. We're not that old, but we, the Monkees, the Beatles, the Stones, Creedence, Doors, Hendrix. The Jeff Beck Truth album was something that we just like. Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Our mom turned us on to all this music. Bob Seger through my dad and all this stuff, which comes to play. And as far as stuff goes in the 80s, when we got off on Dead Kennedys and Channel 3 and Bad Religion, all that old school punk shit. Of course, we didn't go to punk shows yet because we had hair. Motorhead started bridging that gap, and Early Eyed Maiden, so everybody could come together, and then okay, now we can all hang out. But like the first Def Leppard album is my favorite Def Leppard album. I mean, everybody's got their own stuff, but that was that Tigers of Pantang, all that kind of stuff that came over that these guys in Europe started tweaking on. People talk about how, I heard Saxon and only a few people heard of Saxon. Well, we heard of Saxon too, and we were all dumb kids, partying out, getting off on this music. Like, this is because I would take Beatles and Stones and Monkey songs even and put them on 45 speed on the record player and play through my Ibanez V and my pig nose and learn them that way. Right. So like, whether it was punk or metal vibe, this aggro thing. And, it was like, okay, now here's somebody doing that. Here's some bands that are playing this feeling, this aggression, which turned into, a lot of great stuff that came out in the 80s and into the 90s. And then prog stuff, my brother and I are big jazz fusion freaks. So
nice.
Anything, off the beaten path. But I mean, what's cool is that everybody has these influences and we put them together into this stew. I've said this before, and we come up with what we do. And, the stuff we're writing and have been writing is really just this next level extension of what you hear on this album. And we're all looking forward to that, getting to that place where we can play them. But, it's, if you listen to like Last Stand, that's a song I wrote with Morgan, who was the other guitar player previously, and he wrote some parts, but mainly that vibe of that song for me was 70s classic rock. I'm basically copping Queen and Aerosmith and even Chicago in that song. And if you strip away the modern feel of it, and if you went and recorded it, made it sound like it came out of the 70s, oh yeah, that's a Queen riff, or that's a Aerosmith riff, or that's the piece from Chicago song, that kind of stuff, And the end of Fear No Evil was just, one of those, let's just, pay homage to the Blackfoot and, Ramba Jamba, Black Mamba, and, half a dozen other songs. It just, Kansas and Styx, who would go on to these, they play this song and all of a sudden they just take off in this April Wine thing, or, they do this crazy piece of crazy guitar playing shit, or just parts and pieces that are like, wow, okay. So there's a lot of that, where it's straight ahead, in your face, to let's have some fun with some killer riffs put together.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the jazz thing. I'm a huge Herbie Hancock fan, so and I know most people, I listen to a lot of stuff that most people, when they look at me, would never guess that I would be into. I'm a huge Air Supply fan. There's just something about there's something about their melodies that, it's not the music itself, but I think just the way that vocally they could sing together really kind of always impressed me, because it really is a fine art of taking multiple voices and get them to kind of fit the way they did.
Definitely get into that, the different vocal groups that have been come and gone, and that take 3 or 4 part harmonies and you put them in this place. You're like, fuck.
And I love doo-wop music. One of the things, I have a huge passion for cover songs, whether they're good, whether they're bad. One of the things that really got me into it, I seen a punk show at CBGB's, and I can't remember what band it was, but they did this super fast, revved up version of Run Around Sue. And I had never heard anything like that before, kind of like you were saying. And I was like, that shouldn't work. But it was so fucking cool. It was so
It can, it can work. We used to do that, my brother and I, with the band we were in. We were like 18 or whatever. We did it like a kind of a metal speed version-ish of Run Around Sue.
Yeah.
Because it had this thing going on, like, well, just rock the fuck out of this thing,
Yeah.
And you can, you can do that with a lot of music.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. And now when I hear bands, whether it's Bowling for Soup, or whether it's whether it's Murphy's Law or the Dead Kennedys or the Dropkick Murphys, whatever, when I hear them take songs like AC/DC, or they take the old classic standard songs and they just kind of put this whole new spin on them, they're not always the greatest songs, but I admire them just for having the balls to do something different and step outside of the box. And, I always tell people, like, look, you don't have to like it. There's other stuff you can like, but give credit where credit is due, because I don't see you standing up on that stage taking that chance.
Right. And maybe not everybody. I mean, there's things I'm not going to touch because I just know that it's not going to happen. I will say, in the context of like bands doing a remake or a cover, when I heard Devo do Satisfaction, I was fucking blown away, because they did something that was just so fuck, you can't touch this. It was so fucking insane to me how they pulled off, owned it 100% as if it was theirs, and it's not necessarily my cup of tea per se. But what they did was so fucking original. I'm sorry, I don't care. It was fucking insane. I've heard other bands, I won't mention any names, who have covered other songs, and they fucking ruined them.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't have done that,
Yeah, like my biggest one, and I will say the name, the band Nevermore. I love the band Nevermore. for what they do. But when they took Sound of Silence and just turned it into a straight death metal song, I was like, okay, that's just a war crime. Like that, they just raped that song. I'm sorry. Like I said, I love Nevermore. I don't hold it against them, but that is, if there was one cover that I could wipe from existence, that would be the one, because it just, look, I give them credit for doing something different, but they turned Sound of Silence into just this growling, screaming death metal song that it doesn't resemble the original song in any way, shape, or form.
And it probably wasn't supposed to, just like Devo's version of Satisfaction was pretty, out there with it. But I mean, I'm sure there's somebody who wanted to hear that song in that style, so, there it is, right?
Right. And that's why I say it all in good fun, but it's probably the only cover song that I just don't like. And I don't know.
Anyways.
The new record.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I get off on tangents.
No, hey, same here. I get it.
Game Changer is the record. You have a new single, which is...
The last one is Burning Daylight.
Burning Daylight. That's the one. Give some background on that one. And
that song
for it, or
subscribe to our YouTube channel. YouTube. Yes. Subscribe. Tons of content. That song is the oldest song on the album as far as how long it goes.
Okay.
It was one of the first songs that my brother and I wrote when we started doing this thing that became Attack of the Rising through its many incarnations. It was something that he had, written parts of it, like mainly the chorus stuff and that chorus piece on the bass. It was much slower, but he had this idea. He had the lyrics. It was a blue collar anthem song. I kind of put the galloping maiden thing in there, and then this crazy end piece. And it's always been about that vibe of, call to arms, not violent arms, but
right,
civil rights, union rights, blue collar worker rights, human rights, and I had started tooling around with making a video for it myself. I'm pretty much a elementary school guy when it comes to video editing and shit, but I was having fun with it, and I wanted to put all this content in there and just kind of like, here's a college course dissertation on everything. And, it was like, you gotta bring it down a little bit, and so we had a guy doing editing for us who, the message is there. It's pretty clear what the message is about, and the lyrics say what it's going on. And, it's one of those songs where, yes, it could have came out in 82 or 85 easily. And that's okay. Don't really care what anybody thinks about that. Love playing the song, and it means a lot to us. And it, again, pretty much everything we do, and I don't see how that would change for us. There's a message of some type,
that's okay. I mean,
it's pretty much the same message. We say this is people ask us, what's your thing? Is we're one tribe. We're all one tribe.
Yep.
Don't give a fuck about skin pigmentation. Don't care about, what your bloodlines are about. That's great. I mean, I'm Yugoslavian Italian. I'm very stoked to be that, but that doesn't separate me from anybody. It doesn't make me better or worse or less than or greater than. And we're not, it's 2022. Can we get on to the, Jetsons and Star Trek and get on to this, can we get past all this stupid, like kindergarten sandbox bullshit we keep getting into? It's like, enough's enough,
Yeah, I hate when people, I don't want to say I hate, I get frustrated when people let politics get in the way of them hearing good music.
Well, it kind of depends what they're saying. Like, and I have no problem saying this. We're anti-Nazi hardcore, so anti-fascist.
Yeah.
So if somebody's out there promoting that shit, I don't give a fuck. I'm not listening to them, and they can kick rocks.
Right.
I mean, but that's more of a social philosophy.
Yeah.
That's been politicized, obviously, since forever. But So in that context, I mean, I just want to clarify that. I mean,
Yeah,
I believe what you're saying is, hey, I like this song. The guy's kind of a kook because he's in some QAnon place. Okay, whatever, you know what I mean. But you know, whatever, and that's teach their own.
I mean it in the context of I have friends who are very liberal who won't listen to Ted Nugent, and I have friends who are very conservative who won't listen to Public Enemy. They won't listen to Bad Religion. They won't listen to
Rage, Tool, the list is endless. Iron Maiden,
because
Black
I don't
Sabbath.
agree with the politics of the person. You're missing out on so much good music. Like, look, politically, I'm very middle of the road. I'm just a staunch libertarian. You know, I'm very much. I don't care what you do or who you do it with. Just don't do it on my lawn, and please don't spend my money to do it. You know, um, but at the same time, how much great music would I have missed out on if I had a closed mind to the fact that, oh, well, I don't always agree with everything Tom Morello says. I'm not going to listen to Rage Against the Machine. Tom's an incredible guitar player, and he's an incredible songwriter and composer.
And extremely intelligent.
Exactly. So, you know, I don't have to agree with the guy. I'm just going to take it for what it is and leave it at that. Like, there's a lot of 60s protest songs. You know, I don't always agree with some of the stuff Dylan said, but it doesn't diminish Dylan any less as a songwriter or where his place is historically musically. You know, and for anyone to do that to me is just it's frustrating and it's crazy that they would be that close-minded. Now, what you said, I absolutely agree. I'm not going to listen to anything that supports anything like that. And
I'm just saying that's an easy one to say. Hey, you know,
obviously.
I mean, I early Ted Nugent stuff. I still listen to it because the riffage is great. Do I want to hang out with the guy? Not at all.
Exactly.
It's so cool. But Motor City Madman and that shit's fucking great music.
Yeah.
And when it comes to things like, you know, early Black Sabbath, I mean, if you don't know what they were talking about, okay, they were pretty much, and they were from England going, hey, fuck this war, you know, pretty kind of simple there. You know, and Hendrix doing the Star Spangled Banner at Woodstock, that was as controversial as Colin taking a knee. Huge. I mean, it was like, you know, it freaked the fuck out of all these people who were on that side of the fence of things. Yeah. So, you know, it's just, you gotta know you know, again, it's always about basic civil rights, human rights, you know, not subjugating humans for profit or pillaging the planet for greed. Right. You know, some basic stuff. If we can get there, then we can go wherever else we need to go. But anyways,
yeah.
Before we tangent into some, you know,
no,
there's some rabbit holes out there, and I don't mind going down them. But the trick is you got to come out.
Yeah,
that's Gary one of the things.
You know, is one of my all-time favorites, and even Gary had some stuff that was very. You know, he wrote about the airplane crash that happened in India and all that, and the different things, and you know, even some of Gary's music, "Over the Fields and Far Away," was an anti-war song. So, again, it's just having that open mind and appreciating the music for really what it was, the mastery of it and the ability to, you know, more than anything, I think it's, look, we have the right to listen to anything we want. Why don't you? I mean, you know, with so many rights in question, why not exercise the one that nobody's really tried to mess with that much?
Well, that's not. They have tried.
Yeah. They tried their hardest back in the day, didn't they?
I remember very well after 9/11 how that turned out.
Yeah, even before that was typical.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. All that PMRC, and then the no playlists, you know. Yeah. But anyways, we can still, like right now, no one's going to come to your door or my door at this moment for this conversation, which is kind of cool.
Right.
Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, for sure. So to wrap this up, I have a cool little thing, or we have a fun little thing that we do. It's called the Music Gods Random Questions of Insanity.
Okay.
And I just ask you a whole bunch of random questions. They could be about music, movies, life experiences, all of that.
Sure.
And you can give whatever crazy answer you want.
Okay.
So the first one is, if you became president, what would be the first law that you would pass?
That's kind of a hard question to answer because I mean, my longest standing thing has been getting off oil, getting off the dead dinos.
Okay.
So I don't know if I could actually pass a law
Yeah.
that says we're not going to use that thing that's killing us and the planet. The irony of that is insane. Insane has been since I was like a teenager, going back to the late 70s, early 80s when I became aware of like, wait, we don't need to do this. So I don't know if I can pass a law as a president.
Right.
And even executive order is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But I would champion, any of that stuff because obviously if we don't do something, we're not going to be here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would try my best to end any kind of discrimination across the board so that, we're in that place of,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's because,
Yeah.
Congress passes the laws, not the president. That's the system we're supposedly have.
Yeah. I always make the joke that if I was ever elected, my first law, executive order, whatever, would be banning patchouli because the smell of patchouli is just so horrid that it's like, oh God, I can't stand patchouli. Like, it's the only perfume.
Thank God you didn't say sage because that would suck. I have
Sage
some right over
doesn't
there.
bother me, but
But I mean, this is my point, right? One man's patchouli is another man's sage, or person's sage, or whatever, right? So
I don't patchouli just. I
I'm
can
just
smell
saying.
it from like 100 yards away, and it's so horrible that it's just makes your eyes water. If you could bring one famous person back from the dead, who would it be?
Famous person. Okay. I took lessons from Randy Rhoads, so I would just, because of that, I would say Randy Rhoads. I mean, there's the hundreds,
Right.
God, but I'll go with that.
If humans came with a warning label, what would yours be?
Oh God. Not so much a hazmat label, as it wouldn't be that, but it'd be some kind of a, it can be too intense. So if there's a lot of running jokes. I have a lot of passion in me, so sometimes it's a little. We have running jokes, Tony, too much, or turn it down a little bit, and I learned to turn it down a long time ago. So it could be, kind of loud sometimes, and that could be too much for to get a point across or to have amicable discourse among others. Because if you're too much, too loud, too much volume from your passion, it can turn people off to paying attention or listening or having a desire to have that social integration experience. So I think that would be it, something along those lines.
Okay. Who would you least like to be forced to sit next to on a 5-hour flight? I'm going to get you in trouble with this one.
I know. I'm like, it's kind of obvious that anybody that actually knows me or anything I've ever said over the last 40 years in some capacity, either in person or whatever. Social media has been around for the last 10 or 15. But, I fucking aching to sit next to a Nazi. And
yeah.
I don't want to sit next to somebody who's lost in some, alternative facts QAnon land who thinks there's reptilians or that there's some fake Biden guy or I don't know what the fuck, some of the shit I've heard, when, it's like the 5G or whatever. I'm like, dude, that's so 1980s,
Yeah.
And all that stuff. Cause everything, I mean, my phone, they're tracking me on my phone, dude. Hello. Yeah. So, I mean, if I had to sit next to somebody, if they're going to be sleeping, I don't give a fuck who they are. I don't want to be next to them. There's people I don't want to be around at all. So,
yeah.
No, stuff
my answer actually goes to what you just said. My answer is actually David Duke. I've
Yeah.
had
Something like that,
I've
yeah.
had the unfortunate displeasure
Oh
of
my God.
meeting the man,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
and he is every bit as obnoxious and arrogant as he's
Yeah.
been portrayed in the media, and made me want to punch him in the throat. Um, Unfortunately, it was part of a college course where I couldn't opt out of listening
Right.
to him.
Spoo.
Yeah, you know, listening to him, you know, try to make his point. Um, but at the end of it, I couldn't like get out of the room fast enough or take enough showers to walk
Right. I
out
was
of.
going to say, sage yourself and get some olive oil and whatever.
But yeah, he'd be one person that just would absolutely
Yeah.
disgusting human being. Um,
Come on, I'm down for these questions. Give me more weird shit. Come on.
uh, um, which one of your songs would you most want to be remembered for?
I mean, of anything I've recorded over my life or just
Yep,
for this
just
album?
any song that you've
Oh,
written. Oops, smacked the
it's okay.
microphone.
Uh, I don't know. That's kind of hard to say. I mean, because there's different styles, different, I have the outlaw country stuff. We have the alternative heavy stuff. Oh, man. I'll just go with off this album and say, just because I make it easier because we're talking about Attack in this album and all things like that. I'll just say Skulls, Island of Seven Skulls. I'm very, very proud of that song.
Awesome. Best hotel or motel chain to stay in while on tour? I know this is kind of a loaded question.
I mean, it's funny because when my brother and I we had this like indie punk band or skate punk band thing, whatever, and I multiple sixes, I don't care as long as it's a clean room,
Right.
I don't care what part of town it's in or any of that shit because that doesn't bother me personally. But I mean, that's kind of relative to, again, some people like broccoli, some people like tomatoes,
No, this is all just your opinion.
Yeah,
No,
I know. Yeah, it's all good.
If you could make any movie be real life,
Oh my God.
which would you choose?
Oh, oh man. I don't even know if my brain has the capacity to process, uh, the amount of years I am old and how many movies I've seen since I can remember. Uh, um, make real life. I don't know. I mean, I have a premise to say anything that resembles the premise of Star Trek and, that whole, we're not fighting over dumb shit anymore.
Right.
And then, of course, any of that Marvel stuff because I'm a total comic book geek. So, but, they're all pretty grim.
Right.
I love sci-fi and even though whatever it's old school or new school or whatever, they always have the same premise that we just don't really seem to grow up too well.
Right.
We're still haggling over some dumb shit somewhere, which sucks because it's like, I wish that this wasn't part of our thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. I mean,
I am the guy that I love Deadpool,
yeah.
but I really, really, before I die, I want to see a proper Lobo movie. And
Lobo, you
yeah,
said? Okay.
Lobo is kind of like DC's version of Deadpool.
Well, in that context, Swamp Thing. I'd like to see a real good dark Swamp Thing because
there you go.
I would love to. I would sacrifice my existence as a human to go fight corporate motherfuckers polluting our planet like that motherfucker did.
I got to interview Lloyd Kaufman about Toxic Avenger movies.
Right.
And Lloyd is one of the coolest people you will ever
Yeah.
meet. Like,
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
and those movies, again, going back to that theme, are
Yeah.
just so.
Yeah.
Yes, they are what they are, but they're so classic and just what Lloyd was doing and the way he went about it. So these ones are pretty simple. I'm going to give you two choices, and you get to pick one.
Okay.
So, Porky's or Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Stevie Ray Vaughan or Gary Moore?
Can't choose between that.
I can't either, truthfully.
It's like,
Yeah. DC or Marvel?
Marvel.
Okay.
I love DC's, when they're dark and do their right.
Right.
But Marvel's definitely the shit.
Friends or Seinfeld?
It'd have to be Seinfeld. I never really liked Friends, so
I never watched either one, so it doesn't matter to me. Let's see. Cilantro, yes or no?
cilantro,
Yeah,
like something on my tacos.
yeah, or just
Sure.
in general.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't have a problem with cilantro.
yeah, I'm not a huge. I don't hate it, but I'm not like a fan of it either. Best green flavoring: apple, lime, or watermelon.
Best what? Ice cream flavor?
Best green flavoring: apple, lime, or watermelon.
Green flavoring as in pot?
Green flavoring, as in just like candy or
Oh, candy. Okay, I didn't know what you meant.
anything.
Okay.
Like green fruit, basically.
Oh, okay.
Green fruit flavoring, like soda or ice cream.
Okay, and that was what again?
Apple, lime, or watermelon.
I'll go with apple.
All right. These are the last set. I have one
No
final
worries.
question after these.
It's okay.
This one is called Who Wins in a Fight?
Okay.
Give you two choices. This is a no holds barred, anything goes fist fight.
Whatever kind of fight, right?
So
Okay.
who wins in a fight between Donald Duck or Porky Pig?
I think Porky Pig would. But you know what? Donald Duck can be aggro, so let me switch that over to Donald Duck.
Okay. John Wayne or Clint Eastwood?
Clint all the way live.
Okay. El Bundy or the Fonz?
I would hope the Fonz would.
What's the other one at? Uncle Jesse from Full House or Bo Duke?
I don't know, because I never really watched Full House and rarely watched whatever that was.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, Dukes of Hazzard. So I don't know. Uncle Jesse, maybe he'd pull off a nice right hook somewhere. I don't know. Maybe.
All right. And the final question. I ask this one to everybody. This is always my closing question.
Okay.
This is choice A or choice B. Choice A, every movie you watch going from this moment forward, the lead role is played by Gilbert Gottfried. Or choice B, every song you hear in the future is now performed by Justin Bieber. Doesn't matter what movie or what song it is, it's either Gilbert Gottfried playing the lead role or Justin Bieber performing it.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, Gilbert passed recently, but
Yeah, sadly.
I would definitely, rather have Gilbert playing every lead role than hear every song from anybody I want. Justin's doing whatever the fuck he does. So.
Yeah. I would choose Gilbert just for the pure
Well, enjoyment. I mean, he would fuck that shit up like crazy.
But I mean, there's certain roles like imagining Gilbert Gottfried playing Gunnery Hartman in Full Metal Jacket,
right?
Or
him playing Godfather this or
or playing the lead in Dirty Dancing,
Yeah, any of that,
or
whatever
he
my
just yeah. So with that said, this is Tony. Is it Lepre?
Lepre, yeah,
Lepre.
close enough.
From Attack of the Rising. The new record is called Game Changer. Check it out all over the place. It's available everywhere now, right?
Yeah, you can get hard copies through Weapon Records or go to your local indie record store. You can get it online everywhere that stuff's at digitally. Go to our YouTube channel. It's easy to find us. You Google Attack of the Rising, we come up. We trademarked the name a long time ago. So,
awesome.
A lot of cool stuff on our YouTube channel, a lot of content, videos we've made, live footage, all kinds of cool shit coming. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Check these guys out. Support them in all that they do. It's a killer record. It is absolutely one of my favorites that I've heard over the last year or so.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. And Tony, thank you for taking the time to do this. Man.
Hey, man, no problem. Thank you very much for having me. This is awesome.
Absolutely. Hopefully you had fun. That's
yeah.
the whole point of this. But with that said, you know what we do here. So, as always, our typical ending, be well, treat each other with kindness, and remember that music heals.
Amen. Cool.